It's just seems to laugh.
And in front of 6 people, it's more nerve-wracking.
According to serial killer crime case statistics, the United States has 76% of the world's serial killers. I've used several reliable sources and researched 4 serial killers, and they are Bella Venice, Edward Gein, Ted Bundy, and John Wayne Gacy. First, we will go back in time to one of the worst and few female serial killers, Bella Venice. According to the LaPorte County Public Library, she lived in LaPorte, Indiana, and she had a small farmhouse there. She had many husbands, and they would either die or disappear mysteriously, and that's why she had the nickname of the Black Widow. In 1908, her farmhouse caught on fire, and they found her body along with her 2 children inside of the house. And they didn't know how the fire started, so the police did an investigation, and they did some digging around the house, and that's what that picture is. And they found around 40 bodies buried outside that Belle had killed, and they did autopsies on the bodies, and most of them were either poisoned or slaughtered. And then the most interesting part is they found out that the body that was inside the house that they thought was hers was actually another victim. So Belle had disappeared, and no one ever knew where she went after that day. So that's why no one really knows what year she died. But she had total around 49 victims. The next serial killer you might recognize from movies like Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that's Edward Gein. According to the biography of Ed Gein by Lacey Quinn, he was very attached to his mom whenever he was a child, and she passed away in a fire, and then after that happened, he just kind of went crazy. He would skin his victims and would sometimes eat the corpses, and he was also fascinated with Nazi experiments and would perform his own experiments on his victims along with his mom's body as well. Whenever the police came to his house, they found bowls in the kitchen made out of human skulls, they found masks made out of facial skin, and there was a heart in the pan on the stove that I guess he was going to eat. And he had around 15 victims. His nickname was the Butcher of Plainfield. The next serial killer, and perhaps the most twisted and vocal one of all time, is Ted Bundy. He had over 40 victims, and he had a lot of famous quotes. One of them was, "I just like to kill, I wanted to kill." According to Crime and Investigations Network, he was from Burlington, Vermont. He was very handsome and charming, so no one would ever really suspect him of being a serial killer. He started killing at the age of 14, and all of his victims resembled his first girlfriend. In the pictures you can see his victims usually had longer hair parted down the middle. He also engaged in necrophilia, which is having sex with corpses. And his way of luring victims would be faking an injury. He would have a sling on, and people would come up to him, and he would hit the girls over the head with a crowbar, and then kidnap them, rape, and kill them. Before he was executed in 1989, he confessed to over 40 murders, and he also had one of his most famous quotes was, "We serial killers are your sons, husbands, and we are everywhere, and there will be more children dead tomorrow." The next serial killer went by the nickname of the Killer Clown, and probably explains why a lot of people have a really bad fear of clowns, and that's John Wayne Gacy. According to the Crime Library, Criminal Minds and Methods, he was from Chicago, Illinois, and people described him as being as normal as they come. His father was an alcoholic and very abusive to him growing up, which was probably why he ended up being a serial killer. He owned his own contracting business and was a performing clown at little kids' birthday parties. And the way that he would lure in his victims would be telling little boys that he had a magic trick that had to do with handcuffs, and he would handcuff them and then end up taking them to his car and then raping them and killing them. And then also, whenever the police caught him, they found 26 victims buried in the crawl space of his house, and they also said that there were 4 Johns, that he had a split personality. One was a contractor, one was a politician, one was a clown, and the other was the bad one that killed people and raped them. Though the odds seem impossible that this would ever happen to you, none of the victims of these 4 serial killers ever thought that they would be a victim of something like this, especially because all 4 of them were the people who knew them thought that they were normal, average people. But these 4 alone killed over 150 people, and that's not even close to 150, so that just shows you how many innocent lives were taken. Though we shouldn't live our lives in fear, I hope that you are all now more aware of stuff that's happened in the United States and that nothing is impossible. Thank you.